The dogs were raising hell again, at shadows in the dark. 26 old guardians sounding every farm alarm. The fire danced beside the camp, throwing sparks into the night, while the moon hung over Hawks Farm like a lantern in the sky. Had a little cherry lemonade, courtesy of a faithful friend, mixed with brine berry coffee and let the day come to an end. The smoke rolled slow through cedar trees, the worries drifted too, and for a little while the world forgot what it was trying to do. And this is my happy place, just a fire and open space, dogs barking somewhere in the dark, mountains watching from afar, a bowl of prayer, a quiet night, stars above and God's own light. The world can run its endless race, but this is my happy place. Every scar I've ever carried, every burden, every loss, seems a little lighter sitting beside those embers and that cross. The shepherds keep their vigil like they've done 1,000 nights, and somehow all that barking just reminds me life's alright. Yeah, this is my happy place, just a fire and open space, dogs barking somewhere in the dark, mountains watching from afar, a bowl of prayer, a quiet night, stars above and God's own light. The world can run its endless race, but this is my happy place. I ain't found peace and money, never found it on TV, never found it in the noise of what everybody thinks should be. Found it in a camper chair underneath the moonlit sky, with faithful dogs around me and the Lord walking by. Yeah, this is my happy place, where time slows down and grace falls soft as mountain moonlight across this weathered face. Just an old man and a shepherd, thankful for another day. And if heaven feels like anything, I think it feels this way. If heaven feels like anything, I think it feels this way. I've stood in fields that wouldn't grow, watched dreams disappear beneath the snow, buried pieces of myself through the years, learned to carry sorrow without tears. I've walked roads nobody should walk alone, stared at empty rooms that once felt like home. And there were nights I swore I'd reach the end, till grace showed up disguised as one more friend. 'Cause every wound leaves something behind if you're willing to look beyond the pain in your mind. Hardship isn't the whole story. It ain't the ending of the page. Every scar became a lesson. Every storm helped shape the way. Yeah, I've walked through fire and failure, seen some nights that felt too long, but hardship isn't the whole story. It's just one verse inside the song. I've seen good people brought to their knees, begging heaven for a little peace. I've watched old warriors carry hidden scars, still find the strength beneath the stars. Now I've learned the world ain't black and white. Some battles are won just staying in the fight. Sometimes faith is simply taking one more step when you can't see the road that's coming yet. 'Cause every valley teaches something new, and the darkest nights reveal what's really true. Hardship isn't the whole story. It ain't the ending of the page. Every scar became a lesson. Every storm helped shape the way. Yeah, I've walked through fire and failure, seen some nights that felt too long, but hardship isn't the whole story. It's just one verse inside the song. Now I watch the sunrise hit the pines and thank the Lord I'm still alive. For every tear that felt like rain, something beautiful somehow remained. The people who stayed, the love that survived, the prayers I thought were unanswered, working quietly all this time. Hardship isn't the whole story. It never was and never will be. 'Cause mercy writes in chapters that pain alone could never see. And every broken road behind me led somewhere I belong. No, hardship isn't the whole story. It's just one verse inside this song. So if you're standing in the shadows, thinking hope is almost gone, remember hardship isn't the whole story. And God, yes, God, you're still writing the song. Down in old Rome, they learned a trick. Keep the people busy, keep the people thick. Hand them some bread, give them a show, and they'll stop asking where the tax money goes. Gladiators fighting while the empire burned. Lessons from history we still ain't learned. The crowd kept cheering, the leader smiled, while freedom slipped away mile by mile. Bread and circuses, bright lights and noise, keep the people distracted with their favorite toys, while the powerful gamble with the future we share. Most folks never notice 'cause they're looking elsewhere. Bread and circuses, same old game, different century, different face, different name. And the question remains when the curtain falls, who's watching the empire at all? Screens in our pockets, headlines a scream. Everybody selling the next big dream. Outraged today and forgotten tomorrow, trading real answers for borrowed sorrow. Politicians talking, the cameras roll. Everybody playing a carefully crafted role. The crowd picks sides and the ratings climb, while the clock keeps ticking on borrowed time. Bread and circuses, bright lights and noise keep the people distracted with their favorite toys, while the powerful gamble with the future we share. Most folks never notice cause they're looking elsewhere. Bread and circuses, same old game, different century, different face, different name. And the question remains when the curtain falls, who's watching the empire at all? A free man thinks, a free man reads, a free man plants his own damn seeds. He don't need a ringmaster tell him what to believe, and he don't sell his future for temporary relief. Bread and circuses, the crowd still cheers. The same old tricks have lasted 2,000 years, but every generation gets one chance to decide, will we stand for the truth or enjoy the ride? Bread and circuses, that's a test. Comfort and spectacle demand what's best. And when history writes what became of us all, will it say we were away or just watching the show? The bread gets eaten, the circus leaves town. But freedom, that's the thing you can't buy back once it's gone.
I didn't understand this lady. I was invited to a wonderful all-black church. I'm sitting there, and a lady comes in. She sits down from me, and she says hello, and I said hello. And I didn't understand this lady's going to change my life forever. I will leave that service wanting to be like her. She turned to me, and she said, "What are you doing here, white boy?" Now, in my whole life, no one had ever called me white boy. I said, well, white boy's going to preach this morning. She looked at me and she said, "You got the stuff, white boy?" I said, "I beg your pardon." She said, "Don't play stupid, white boy." She said, "If the preacher ain't got the stuff, we don't have church. If you don't got it, you sit right down here and let somebody stand up there that's got the stuff." She said, "Now, you got it or not?" I said, "White boy's got the stuff." I didn't know what to say. She said, "They tell you how we do stuff here?" I said, "No." Oh, she said, "Well, let me tell you. Service going to start right on time." She said, "And we're going to sing for at least an hour." She said, "Sometimes we sing more than an hour." She said, "You love to sing, white boy?" I said, "Oh, yeah, I never get enough of it." Right. She says, "After we're done singing, we have testimonies." She said, "People talk about stuff they've been delivered from." She said, "Man, sometimes they stand up and, man, they confess crimes they've done. It's good." And she said, "Man, when they confess a crime, we take them right down to the jail and turn them in." She said, "You not done any crimes, have you, white boy?" And I thought, none that I'm talking about this morning, no. She said, "After that, we take the offering." She said, "You love to give, don't you?" And I'm thinking, I don't know what's in my pocket, but it's all going in this morning, man. She said, "Then comes the preaching." She said, "You hear me, white boy? We didn't come to get out. We come to go to church." She said, "If you come to get out, just best you not come." What an insult to God. She said, "Whatever stuff you got, make sure we get it and don't cut it short." She said, "Now, could you do me a favor, white boy?" I said, "Sure." She said, "Could you move over?" I said, "Okay, somebody else coming?" She said, "No." She said, "Because when I get singing, I needs my room." She said, "You see, I'm addicted to praising him." She said, "I don't like it. I adore it." She said, "It's the passion of my life, praising him." I moved over. That dear sister, man, she got singing. And you know what? She's singing and crying, and pretty soon I'm crying. And I don't know why we're crying. Her passion pulled me in. Man, we're singing, and I'm like, boy, I want to praise the Lord like she does. I'm up by the preacher, and I said, "You know that lady down there?" He said, "Yeah, you're sitting down there by Abby, Sister Abby." I said, "Preacher, she's amazing." He said, "Well, did she share her testimony with you?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, David, let me tell you." He said, "Just a couple of years ago, her husband and 2 junior high boys walked down to the bus stop. Early in the morning, some shotguns came out and killed her 2 boys and her husband. I met her at the hospital and I said, Abby, what do you want to do? She said, let's have church. I need to get back to my passion. He said, did she tell you she has stage 4 cancer and no money for medicine? I said, no, she didn't tell me that. All she did was tell me about her Jesus. And all I know is I want to be like her. Would anybody want to be like you? And do you have a
Do you have a passion?
I was invited to a wonderful all-black church.
Praise. Do you have a passion to praise? What a profound question. Think about it. I mean, really think about it. A profound passion to praise. So, started us off today with bread and circuses, because that's what we've been experiencing for going on 10 years. Well, it's been going on for a lot longer than that, but it's just been noticeable in the last 10 years. We didn't recognize, we didn't see it. We didn't want to see it. Now we're in a position where we want to see everything. And they don't want us to. They want to keep it hidden. They want to keep it tucked away. They want to keep these things from us because of the fact that it's in their best interest, not ours. It's always been about their best interest, hasn't it? Those who go to Washington, those who go to our state capitals, those who sit on our county boards and our city councils, and isn't that about where we're at? Isn't that about where we finally say, you know what, enough is enough? I heard some great news this morning. You want to know what the great news is? The California National Guard has now entered Oregon. Yeah. The California National Guard. Not the Oregon National Guard, because Governor Kotex, refuses to allow Trump to use the troops in order to get Portland under control. So he sent in Californians. He federalized them, swore them in as marshals, and they are now in Portland. How do I know that they're in Portland? Because they drove past my place last night on their way in. They came from every which way. They were on I-5, they were on Highway 22, and they were on the 205. You know, this is the thing, is that there are always ways around things if we but look for the path. Now, the biggest obstacles in our lives are best removed by holy grace. Yeah. So when you have an obstacle in front of you, what do? You give it to him, and then you follow the instructions. It's pretty simple. It really is. Although we get wrapped up in time, we don't have patience. You know, that's part of it, is that what we have to come to understand is that time is irrelevant. Time dictates everything that we do because we let it. It's time that we start taking our time back and controlling it the way that it should be. Having time to work your garden, having time to work your family, having time to work your Bibles, having time to work your word with him. Simple, but it is a big pain in the ass. So many obstacles. So remove the obstacles. One piece at a time. I got it one piece at a time. It didn't cost me a dime. They'll know it's me when I come through their town. Oh, I'm sorry. Safety meeting. Quick safety meeting before we get into the rolling of the news. Ooh, that was a good one. Yeah. Starting the morning off with some Brian Berry coffee today because it gives me a little bit of energy and it also calms my shakiness a bit. Yeah, just saying, it works. It works. Brother Don, Brother Fred, good to see you boys. Everybody else, great to see you as well. Yeah, so it's been an interesting couple of days. I told you guys that I wasn't going to be on yesterday, but I was. It was Monday that I said that I was definitely not going to be on for, and I wasn't. And got fuel yesterday afternoon. And again, thank you to all of you who helped with that. Yeah, we got some great conversation with the guy who came in and did deliver. He's actually going to come up and help me get a couple of projects here done. He's got some heavy equipment. He said that hasn't been being worked for a couple of years now, and he's just itching to get out and keep himself in what do you call it when in preparedness mode, because he has a feeling that in the near future he's going to need to be running this equipment. He wants to get back into the swing of things. So I'm going to let him. He says, I don't have a big yard. He says, but I got a huge driveway. He says, that's where I keep my equipment parked. He says, but I pretty much took my yard away. He says, or else I'd go back there and work with the excavator and work with the little mini dozer and stuff and work on that. And he says, but I'd really like to get something where I could knock some trees down and get back to practicing that stuff and working with that. And I said, well, I just happen to have quite a few acres that I could use that being done on. And so I'm going to let him. Yeah, it's he says it's not going to, he told me it's not going to cost me anything. He's going to provide the fuel and everything. But he just wants to be back so that when contracts open up this summer, that he's able to jump in with both feet and doesn't have to be worried about whether his skills are up to par at the time. And I'm like, yeah, I got no problem with it. Come on. All right. So, today's splash, what do you call it? This thing here. Thumbnail. That's what it is. Thumbnail. Today's thumbnail. Want to go over that for a second first, and the reason that I picked these two guys out specifically. Okay, on one side we've got Brandon Gill, representative, and then on the other side we have Tim Burchett. Because honestly, to me right now, those are about the only two in Washington that haven't been blowing smoke up our asses. I'm putting it plain, guys. I'm not going to try and find words around. You always find the right person for the right time. There were times 4 years ago where it was other people that we were focusing on, or 5 years ago when we were focusing on something else. There's always somebody to spotlight. And today I'm going to spend a little bit of time off and on throughout this, going through some stuff that Tim Burchett and Brandon Gill are involved in. So on the one side, we've got Brandon Gill with the Judiciary Committee, and then on the other side, we have the chairman of the Doge Committee. Okay, so Tim Burchett. Okay, so when I'm looking at this, I'm saying to myself, well, right now, looking at everybody, they are really the only ones who are not blowing any smoke up our asses. They're pointing things out, and they're actually keeping their committees focused on what is in front of them and not all this other crap being thrown into the middle of testimonies and things like that. Because you notice that over 50% of the hearings that we hear, every person blames Trump for the problems that they have created. And it's a little fucking ridiculous. But these guys get around that. They walk right around it, and they box it in, and then they drop enough truth on there to shut that individual up. Okay. Basically getting to the point. That's where these guys are. And that's where we need to be. One thing is one of the comments Burchett is going to be talking about is going to be in regards to the since 1947 alien disclosure, so on and so forth, all the money that has been funneled from the U.S. taxpayer into all these projects that they've been doing since 1947. Okay, and he's going to be making some statements that are pretty solid and on the spot, and questions are going to come to your mind as to, yeah, exactly how much of your tax dollars has been going to stuff like this. Think about how much of our parents' tax dollars, our grandparents' tax dollars. That it's so much waste, fraud, and abuse. And now they need to, now it's going to come to the people who have kept that from us. It's going to come to accountability. They're either going to have to put up or they're going to shut up, and they're going to shut down. And that's pretty much the way that I think it's going to end up going. Well, let's go ahead. Let's start off with Act Blue, Jim Jordan.
Your board chairman said Act Blue accepted up to 38 million contributions in 2024 that had the signs of foreign origin. How much fraud is too much fraud?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
How many foreign contributions did Act Blue accept?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
How much money did Act Blue accept from Russia?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Why did your entire legal team quit? Your in-house legal team?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Did your legal team quit because of reduced fraud standards?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Understand. We won't keep you here all day, but let me just do one more. Did you weaken your fraud standards to help Democrats?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the good work you and your committee are doing.
So my first statement would be Sergeant at Arms, take this woman into custody. For treason. Yeah, I just said it. Take this woman into custody for treason. Subversion of the American political system is a form of treason. 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 I know you guys didn't need me to spell it for you, but there might be somebody watching who are glad that they now know how to spell treason. Okay? Just saying. This is going to be interesting, the direction that this goes. Okay? And he's just the first one to question Act Blue today. And we'll see more coming up here. All right. Benny Johnson put this one up. He said, President Trump just revealed the incredible bravery of the 2 Apache helicopters attacked by Iran over the Strait of Hormuz.
Let's start with a story the president told me, new details about the downing of this U.S. Army Apache helicopter. President Trump tells Fox News that the Iranian drone lodged in between the 2 pilots in this helicopter. They were flying very low. And at that point, the drone didn't explode as it had intended to. And so these pilots were trying to take down the helicopter with the drone lodged into this gunship without it exploding. And at any moment, it could have exploded, the president told me. And he said it was on fire. There was a lot of heat inside the cockpit of this helicopter. And ultimately, these 2 pilots were able to take it down into the sea, where ultimately they were rescued for the first time in U.S. military history by an unmanned sea drone. So the latest information that we got from President Trump about that helicopter that went down earlier this week, really a remarkable story. The president called it a miracle. This drone hits the Apache helicopter, lodges between the 2 pilots. It's on fire, and there's a massive amount of heat coming out of the drone, but it doesn't explode. And these pilots very quickly, within seconds, because they're flying very low, take the helicopter down into the sea. And then ultimately, about 2 hours later, according to U.S. Central Command, they are rescued for the first time in U.S. military history by an unmanned sea drone. Again, the president ordering those strikes overnight to target Iranian radar systems and those air defense sites that the Iranians have tried to rebuild during the ceasefire. They weren't supposed to do that, but the president said just a few percentages of that defensive capability they were able to rebuild. And President Trump says they took out about 55% of what they were even able to rebuild. But just a remarkable story about these U.S. pilots from the Army that were able to survive this ordeal against an Iranian drone lodged into their helicopter. And again, President Trump ordering those powerful strikes overnight to send a message to the Iranian regime that he is not done. And if they are unwilling to make a deal, the president tells Fox News he may keep going.
One of the things that would stop.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Then the Department of War put this one out. Secretary of War, it's well, I'll let him tell you himself. Guess where he's at? Anybody want to guess where he's at today? Anybody want to guess? He's in Guantanamo Bay right now. He's at Gitmo.
It's an honor to be here at Guantanamo Bay. I was here 20 years ago serving as a soldier as part of the detention mission. This was then and is here today a very important and strategic piece of American terrain. And we're here from the Department of War to get a chance to see it, make sure it's as strong as it could possibly be, that you have everything you need to be, and that the world understands that American might, whether it's 9,000 miles away or 90 miles away from our shores, is the greatest in the world and prepared to go on offense or defense at any moment to defend our interests. So we're here to talk to your leaders, but even more importantly this morning, to be with you to do some PT in this beautiful piece of terrain. It's an honor to be here at Guantanamo Bay. I was here 20 years ago serving as a soldier.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we're going to jump into some Promethean action for a few moments. Here we go. Let me get their banner up real quick. This is Susan Kokinda with Promethean action.
Donald Trump said something on Monday that you need to pay very close attention to.
We're very close to having a very, very good, strong, powerful deal. If we go and bomb, which we can do very easily if we want, and we spend another 2 or 3 weeks bombing, they'll have nothing left whatsoever, but you won't have the Strait open for months. If we do the bombing, a lot of people are going to be killed. Who wants to do that? I don't. And we'll have a signed document that's actually stronger than doing the bombing.
Stronger than a bomb. Peace without thousands more dead. That's what President Trump just said he wants to do with Iran. Now look at Ukraine. Same president, same approach, same desire to stop the killing. And there, the bodies keep piling up by the tens of thousands. What's the difference? Well, if you look at the headlines, you're not going to figure it out. On Iran, the narrative says that Trump is being outflanked by Tehran or by Tel Aviv, and the war will never end. On Ukraine, they say the war is continuing because Russia has rejected Zelensky's new peace initiative. Pick your villain, Moscow or Tehran. Well, they're both wrong. The thing blocking peace isn't Moscow and it isn't Tehran, and it never has been. And once you see where it actually sits, you're not going to unsee it. That's what I'm going to show you today. And here's how we're going to unpack it. First, we're going to look at what is behind Zelensky's peace proposal and the recent Ukraine arms vote in Congress. Second, who actually sits at the top of this operation and why one of them was willing to blow up relations with a sitting U.S. president to protect it. And third, how Trump's answer in Iran reveals the method that can end forever wars. So last week, Ukraine's Zelensky sent an open letter to Vladimir Putin offering direct talks. The legacy media called it a breakthrough. Peace, finally. But read it, because buried inside this letter to Putin is a 1-2 punch. Punch number one. We've heard that you were promised in Alaska the resolution of certain issues concerning Ukraine and Europe. But you can see for yourself that Ukrainian and European issues are not decided in Anchorage. Zelensky is openly trashing the Anchorage summit and Donald Trump's role. Punch number two. Since the war is taking place in Europe, and since Ukraine needs security guarantees, it would be logical to involve those who can genuinely serve as guarantors. We believe Europe should be part of this process, those who truly have the capacity to influence the situation. So Zelensky says the guarantors have to be those who truly have the capacity to influence the situation, meaning Europe and the United Kingdom, like the way they influenced it in 2022, when British Prime Minister Boris Johnson flew to Kiev and killed the peace framework that was already on the table. And it's the same UK and EU who are now building their entire defense posture around permanent war with Russia. And then what did Zelensky do the moment that letter went out? He flew off to London and he met with Prime Minister Starmer, President Macron, and Chancellor Merz, all of whom read off the same script. Russia is collapsing, Putin is weak. Now is the time to double down on the very demands that have kept this war running for 5 years. And then one by one, the key think tanks lined up and pushed exactly the same line in the lead up to Zelensky's London visit. The Atlantic Council, which is essentially NATO's think tank, said, Ukraine just showed the whole world that Putin is losing control of the war. And the Council on Foreign Relations, which is the British Empire's main foreign policy think tank in the United States, said the same thing, citing Russia's mounting losses and declaring that we're now at a turning point. Well, while the think tanks and Zelensky and their friends laid out the plan, the U.S. House of Representatives provided the backup. The House passed a bill to keep the money and the weapons flowing to Ukraine over the Trump administration's objections. and its chief sponsor was New York Democrat Gregory Meeks, who happens to be a current member of the British American Parliamentary Group, the formal body hot-wiring our Congress to the British Parliament. And that group's head is Prime Minister Keir Starmer. So this parliamentary group was created to maintain ties between the Parliament and the Congress way back in 1937, during the period of time that Britain was consolidating its connections to the U.S. foreign policy apparatus. And it is funded directly by the British government. So while everyone is running around screaming about APAC money, they seem to miss the role of the British government, whose strategic objectives in both Ukraine and Iran are the opposite of Donald Trump's. So if you're tired of being gaslighted by a herd of influencers who keep telling you to look over there to find the bad guys, you can sign up for Promethean Action's free newsletter. We'll help you look above the noise and look at the higher level actors in this battle. The link is in the description. Because it's not just British think tanks and government officials who have thrown everything behind Zelensky. The British Parliament continues to release records in its investigation of Peter Mandelson, the man who was Britain's ambassador to Washington in 2025 and 2026, until his Epstein ties ended his career. Very few have taken notice of this revelation, which came out last week with the latest release of Mandelson's correspondence. It covers King Charles' reaction to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance's public confrontation with Zelensky in the Oval Office in February 2025. King Charles wanted to cancel Trump's upcoming state visit. And the publication that broke the story reported this. The king raised serious concerns about Donald Trump's state visit to the UK in the wake of the president's infamous bust-up with Vladimir Zelensky. Multiple senior Whitehall sources have told this newspaper that the king was reticent about hosting Trump at this time because of his treatment of Zelensky. One source said Charles was jittery about it, while another put it more starkly. The king did not want to do it. Now, think about that. The king was ready to blow off the president because of Zelensky. Stop and consider what the monarchy's actual job is. One of its most important missions is to manage the special relationship that is supposed to keep the United States in its assigned role as the enforcer of British imperial policy. And Charles was ready to torch that over Zelensky. Let that really sink in. Keeping the Ukraine war going was so important to British policy that the king was willing to risk a rupture with Donald Trump to protect the man running the war. And it's not just a one-off. Charles has now met with Zelensky 7 times, most recently on June 8th in Zelensky's recent trip to London. This is more than any other foreign leader on earth. Now, this is the great game, and it's been going on for well over a century. Ukraine isn't a fight for democracy. It's a proxy. It's a pawn on the board the British have been playing since the 19th century, the one that says Russia has to be crushed to clear the path for the empire to control the Eurasian heartland. So they push NATO and the missiles closer and closer and closer to Russia's border until Russia says no. And then they feed the proxy into the fire, and they call it a fight for democracy. Now, Anchorage was Donald Trump trying to end that game. Russia and the United States talking directly with the offer to bring Ukraine in as a nation, not a proxy. And that's why London said no. And that's why Zelensky said no. And that's why he now wants the game masters officially back at the table. So that's one front. Now watch what happens on the other. The same imperial architecture operates in the Mideast. Different proxies. And in the Mideast, the empire has been cultivating proxies for a long time, since it created the Muslim Brotherhood and revisionist Zionism and other radical formations. Same management, and for decades, the American establishment has played its assigned role as one of the biggest proxies in an eternal great game. Donald Trump's recent national security strategy says no. We're a sovereign nation, and we look at each nation as equal, and Israel is on the same footing as our Arab allies. Here's how the NSS describes our new position in the Mideast. The United States retains the most enviable position reinforced by President Trump's successful revitalization of our alliances in the Gulf with other Arab partners and with Israel. Our Arab partners and with Israel. And yes, Israel has its interests and we have ours, as J.D. Vance drilled down on that in his interview with Jesse Waters.
The Israelis in the United States, we have a lot of shared interests, but we also have some situations where our interests diverge. And I think where the president has been very clear here is that while Israel obviously has some objectives that it has, the United States' main objective in Iran is to ensure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. And we've actually, thanks to what's happened over the last few months, but really over the last year and a half, we've created the space necessary where the president believes, and I think that he's right, that we can get the long-term settlement to Iran's nuclear deal. Now, Israel may like that, they may not like that, but fundamentally, we think this is in the best interest of the United States of America.
Did you catch that? They may like that, they may not. The Vice President of the United States just said out loud that Israel's preferences are not the driver of America's policy. And this comes on the heels of the president's leaked F-bomb-laden confrontations with Bibi Netanyahu and administration revelations that Israel may be spying on Trump's Iran negotiators. So this is different. This is not the stuff of Israel runs the United States narrative, which occupies so much of the social media universe. The United States has its own strategy now. We're acting in our interests, not off of the old geopolitical playbook. And this is exactly what terrifies them. Because if Trump can treat Iran as a nation, not a proxy, and get a deal that's stronger than a bomb, the entire architecture is exposed as unnecessary. And that architecture is being exposed in Ukraine, where King Charles and Starmer and Mertz and Macron and the think tanks keep their proxy in the game long after a settlement could have been made. Trump is setting new rules, one where sovereign nations are the principals, not global elites directing their pawns. A world where Iran could function as a nation again, where Russia is allowed to have legitimate interests, and Israel functions in the actual interests of its people. That's the fight Promethean Action has been at it for decades, pulling back the curtain and showing you the real battle. So join us as a supporting member or a contributor. We are at a branching point, and we need more people who can see the real battlefield. This has been your midweek update. Thanks for watching.
Please take a moment and subscribe to our free newsletter at prometheanaction.com.
All right, that was Susan Kokinda. And Trump said, yeah, here we go. Let's get started. Last month, I directed a great U.S. military to execute a secret mission to support oil tankers and other commercial ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Today, I am pleased to announce that this effort has resulted in more than 100 million barrels of oil making its way through the strait and into the open market. More than 200 commercial ships have safely traveled through the strait. This wildly successful effort is because the United States of America controls the Strait of Hormuz, not Iran. Their military is defeated and their economy is lost. It's over for Iran. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And there'll be more. Don't worry. Speaking of which.
You know, I can say it now. Something you didn't know. Do you know we've been taking out millions of barrels of oil? Nobody knows it. You know who doesn't know about it? Iran, until right now. We took out the other night 22 ships late at night with no lights because they don't have any radar because we blasted the crap out of it. We took out, that's why oil's $85 a barrel. You know, I can say it now. Something you didn't know. Do you know we've been taking...
Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to let that play a second time. Had to let Samson out. All right. And then we got James Comer, I should say. James Comer. I apologize.
Todd Blanche came in a month ago. He came in with Pam Bondi to answer questions from the Oversight Committee, and the Democrats stormed out and ran to you all to try to be the first to get on MSNBC and talk about their outrage. What a missed opportunity for the Democrats. But Todd Blanche answered questions that Republicans had for several hours, as did Miss Bondi. But we brought Miss Bondi back in, and we're working to bring Todd Blanche in. Todd Blanche came in a month ago.
And they stormed out. They didn't like it. Yep.
I've been working with Iran for a number of months, and they should sign their deal. It's a good deal. It doesn't give them the right to have a nuclear weapon. In fact, it totally prohibits them from ever having a nuclear weapon. And it was just tap, tap, tap. I don't know what they're doing. So they then shot at our helicopter, very expensive helicopter, by the way, but much more importantly, the two men, fortunately, they're okay. But an amazing rescue. If you ever get a clip, you won't believe the rescue, how cool it was. The equipment we have. Look, we have the strongest military in the world. And I gave them a break at the request of Pakistan, the Field Marshal and the Prime Minister of Pakistan are great. We stopped them from going to war with India. You would have had a nuclear war if it wasn't for me. But they became friendly to me, very friendly, and they're close to Iran, and they worked, and they still are working on trying them to do what's right. But we want a deal that's meaningful. We want a deal that works. We don't want to just have a Barack Hussein Obama deal, JCPOA, the worst deal. That was a path to a nuclear. It's the exact opposite. You know, I like on television say, oh, they should have kept that deal. First of all, it was over. It was a short-term deal. But that deal was a path to a nuclear weapon. This is a path against a nuclear. You can't have a nuclear weapon. His was a path to a nuclear weapon. They were developing during his administration nuclear weapon. If they had a nuclear weapon, there'd be no Israel, there'd be no Middle East, and they would have absolutely shot at us.
Okay, so before I continue this, I want to remind you, okay, Obama gave them the money to build it, okay, but Hillary Clinton arranged the deal to get them the uranium. This is an important factor, you know, and it's one of the big things is, you know, by bringing the nuclear physicists in there to make them take samples, okay, and to test that uranium, what we're going to find out is that uranium came from the United States to begin with. And I see why he's keeping the stance that he's keeping in keeping the strait shut down, because as long as the strait is shut down through the blockade and on the Iranian part, okay, they're losing $500 million a day. Basically, with the oil that's being transported out of there, okay, out of Iran, okay, or from the strait, okay, if we look at it like this, okay, so the strait is open for traffic to go to every place except for Iran. That means that all of our Arab partners are selling oil. Okay, so as long as that is happening, the economy should be pretty much staying about steady as to where it is right now. Okay, but and the thing is that Iran's oil output was so self-regulated to only so much. It kept the rich people rich and the poor people as poor as they could possibly be. Okay, because as long as they're poor, they're starving. They don't have access to all the things that everybody else has. Then the rich are sitting up there in control. Okay, and in some ways, that's exactly what we're seeing here in America, because all the laws that are all across this country, they apply to us, me and you. Okay, Joe and Cindy Blow. Okay, all right, but guess what? That doesn't apply to a politician. the same laws don't apply to the super duper rich. Okay. If it takes this in order to level the playing field, then it's absolutely worth it to see that the laws that are on the books that are justifiable remain, and those that are not are gone, and that the law applies to everybody. And that's how we begin to see accountability. But see, the thing is what we need to do is we need to trap them with their own laws. We need to trap them breaking the actual laws that they made for all of us that we don't break. They need to be caught breaking those laws so that we can remove those protections that they get. You know. Yeah, Whitestone, do you got, okay, so Whitestone brings up a pretty good comment here. July 14th is Flag Day, and it's also President Trump turns 80 years old. You guys know what else is important about June 14th? Anybody else? Anybody? Okay. That is generally the day that they do what is called stand down. Okay. So, like, if you have an old tattered flag and you'd like to replace it, go to your local American Legion, because there will be a ceremony going on. Give them your old and tattered flag, and they will give you a brand new one. Okay. And they will dispose through ceremony the battle standard that you've been having hang, because pretty soon we're going to be going to a different flag. I have a feeling that we'll be going to a different flag. And I believe it's going to end up being our peace flag. The peace flag has not been flown over this country for, more than 100 years. Okay. The stars and stripes as we know them, that is the battle standard that was given to a general during a time of war. It was a battle standard. It will always be a battle standard. And that is why for veterans and people who are currently serving, that flag means everything. Okay. So, this process that is going on has to happen. Okay. But we need to finish taking out the final, the final pegs. Okay. And Iran is absolutely one of them. Okay. Because you have the documented crimes and you have the corroborated evidence to take them out completely. It won't matter about that server that was in her house, okay? But it actually does matter about that server that was in that house, okay? Because of the fact of all the evidence that was on there in regards to uranium one, okay? And, that's the 33,000 deleted emails, okay? Right? Okay. But at the same time, okay, that is also the communications between the Obama administration through the fictitious emails and stuff that they created. Iran has all of that evidence. Remember, they said that there were There were 13, I believe it was 13 locations were targeted by that Iranian hacker, and that Iran has all of that information. Now, why aren't they using that as leverage? Okay, why aren't they using that as leverage? Because they can't. Trump wasn't involved in that. So Iran can't use that as leverage in order to continue their process. And Trump knows this. Strategy. It all boils down to a strategy that is basically based on his book, The Art of the Deal.
So we'll see what happens. But we hit him hard yesterday, and we're going to hit him again hard today in case you miss it, in case you don't turn on your television set. And we'll see what happens with the deal. We were really close to a deal, but they keep tapping us along. They keep playing us for suckers because you know what? They dealt with some very stupid presidents. I have to say that. I'm embarrassed to say it. Some very stupid people were sitting here.
Yep. Just saying. There's a lot to what he said there. You know, they've been playing us for suckers, and I believe that is now coming to an end. Yeah. But I do have to say that I agree with one of the last comments there, and Brother Fred, man, I know, Brother Ganja, yep, I know we see it. But the thing is the most important thing is that now your people are waking up to what's really fucking going on, you know, and I'm glad to see that. But we got to do one of these. It's important. We have to remember. We have to remember.
Got loud and the world got strange. Everybody hollering, everybody complaining. But over on the live stream right about 8, a message starts flying that nobody hates. Brother Don jumps in with a grin so wide. Just be cool, flashing on the chat box side. He types real slow like a man with a plan. I think it's time for a safety meeting, man. Bro, safety meeting. Safety meeting. Gather around friends, let the good times begin. A little laughter, a little truth, a little fellowship rolling through. Brother Don smiling, Fred's making jokes. Hawks on the microphone visiting folks. We ain't running from life, we're just setting the tone at the safety meeting with the family at home. Now Brother Ganja Fred comes strolling in, sounding like he walked out of London again. Says, cheers mates, hope you're all doing all right. I brought enough good vibes to last all night. He'll drop one-liner after one-liner fast. Half the chat laughing till they're crying at last. And every time Hawk starts getting too deep, Fred says, easy there mate, don't wake the sheep. Russ, safety meeting. Safety meeting. Everybody gather when the signal gets sent. No anger, no drama, no fuss, no fight, just good-hearted folks on a Wednesday night. Brother Don steady, Fred's cracking wise. Hawk's got another crazy theory to analyze, and somehow by midnight we're all still gone down 20 rabbit holes and carrying on. Then Hawk fires up with his Mountain View. 26 shepherds making sure he's true. Talking faith, freedom, truth, and grace. With a white shepherd lying right by his place. He says, welcome friends, pull up a chair. Leave your worries and your burdens there. Tonight we're gonna laugh, learn, and see what kind of seed become tomorrow's trees. Brother Don says, brother, that's deep. Fred says, I still think you're waking sheep. The whole chat explodes with laughing emojis everywhere. Somebody's dog starts barking at the air. The moderator surrenders, the timeline bends. Nobody remembers how the story begins, but everybody knows when the meeting is through. They spent the whole night hanging with good people and true. Final safety meeting, safety meeting. Here's to the friends we've never met. The kind that show up and never forget. Brother Don, and it's just be cool to Fred from across the pond, breaking every rule. To hawk on the mountain sowing mustard seeds, trying to remind folks what this old world needs. A little laughter, a little faith, a little kindness, a little grace. And if you hear somebody calling for a safety meeting tonight, just pull up a chair and everything will be alright. Brother Don, you there? Just be cool. Fred? Cheers, mate. Hawk. Welcome home, friends. On safety meeting, the down.
I love how they did this image. You know, I do like that coffee cup too. I have to agree with you. I do like the coffee cup. And it was and I love that you know, it's it's got Don's Just Be Cool. It's got Fred in there, okay, with his cheers, mate. Yeah. Wake the Sheep is actually a person. Yeah. It's oh, good songs, good laughs, good fun. Okay. Did Jesse make a mistake? Okay, so I want to talk.
I've been working with
Coup Claire. Okay. In other news tonight, Jesse Waters on Fox News made a mistake. He said President Kennedy whenever he was talking about the situation in Iran. Like I said, some of us have pattern recognition and we can spot things pretty quickly. Just one of my friends pointed this out and asked me, why did Jesse just say the president's name was Kennedy? Q and an I. Let's check it out. And it's Q Claire. All right.
How do you know? I know.
When our Gulf allies and us.
Yeah, the President Kennedy has been so patient during the ceasefire and has really given peace a chance. And everybody's wondering, you know, how long is it going to take?
Yeah. How do you know?
Listen.
I know.
When our Gulf allies and us.
Yeah, the President Kennedy has been so patient during the ceasefire and has really given peace a chance. And everybody's wondering, you know, how long is it going to take?
Yeah.
Just saying. Guthrie Eagleman says it's happening in Belfast. However, this video is not Belfast. This is an explosion in Russia. It's actually footage of a gas explosion in Russia. And it's disappointing, you know, that that these things are coming up. I actually did a Grok thing on it and posted it in regards to it because I knew, you know, this is the thing, guys. We get to we see the you know, the live footage that's put out because of events that we know that are going on. Okay, but so many videos get looped into these events that, you know, it's that are just recycled images or videos, and it's ridiculous. It's gotta, you know, we've got to be careful about this, and that's the reason I wanted to show that, was because, again, be careful who you follow and always verify for yourself. So even the stuff that I talk to you guys about on a daily basis, verify that. I would be remiss to have you, you know, not verify it yourself. I'd be an idiot. Yeah. So It's official. Within just 15 minutes of a judge ordering the Collin County Courthouse parking lot cleared, Carmelo Anthony's deranged supporters have vacated. The parking lot is cleared. They know deputies and McKinney police do not play. This is how it should be everywhere. And this is the thing is that,
Per the judge's orders, the parking lot will be closed at 9 p.m. Parking lot will close at 9 p.m. Parking lot will close at 9 p.m. Parking lot will close at 9 p.m.
And you know what's crazy is the news only wants to show you certain things about certain situations. Okay, that kid got, I think he got 35 years. I'm not positive. I know I have more clips farther down the line. So yeah, they cleared them out. But they were getting pretty nasty with some people there that were there for the trial and for the sentencing. And I guess it all happened in one day. 35 years, not long enough. I agree. I think you should have got the death penalty.
We put in today, as you know, about Save America, the Save America Act. I don't know, someday the Senate and the House will get it done, although I must tell you the House has approved it about 3 times already. Save America Act right here. We have, everybody can see that. And then we'll talk about clean, beautiful coal. You're not allowed to say coal within the Trump administration unless it's preceded by the words clean, beautiful. Complicates our life, but it's good, right, Chris? Wherever you may be, it is clean.
Got your back.
I'll tell you, it's effective. So the Save America Act is all voters must show photo ID. So you go to vote and you show photo ID. Not complicated, right? You know, who could oppose it? They say it's an 80-20. It's not. It's about 99-1, and we'll never find the one person. Andy, congratulations, Andy, on a big victory.
Thank you for your help.
That's a great. I appreciate it, but you're very good at what you do, and I've been backing you right from the beginning for a long time, right?
Backing you too, sir.
For years, that's right. You have. Thank you. Congratulations. You won a big election. So you have all voters must show photo ID identification. All voters must show a little thing called proof of citizenship.
Yeah, it's pretty clear, you know. Now they did get, the Trump as DHS has expedited the deportation of any foreign citizen who illegally votes in U.S. elections. Great, but a lot of them that are voting are simply not being caught because we don't have the Save America Act, and many states hide their data. Expose it all, deport and secure our elections so it's nearly impossible for an illegal to vote. And it does need to happen. All right. 243 Cal put this up yesterday.
I mean, I welcome the minister saying that politicians need to be careful, because all I hear from the government benches is dog whistles constantly, where they scapegoat migrants for their own failures, and they're doing it more and more and more. And it is clear pathway that this government has chosen to go down. And I, that for me, I think, tonight, what those things we're seeing, we have to ask ourselves as a society how this is happening, and we have to ask all of us on an individual basis need to ask how we are either contributing to this or fixing it.
Yeah, I think the argument has been coming from government for some time now that, technological advancements are happening so quickly that they are now playing catch up policy wise. But, as was pointed out, it's a year to the day or to the week since Ballymena. I mean, these issues have been going on for a long enough time that it sort of beggars belief that a video of that nature was allowed to be circulated
for hours and hours on end this morning without any consequences or with any of those companies that are regulated here in Ireland being called up on it.
Okay, just very briefly, dog whistling from the government benches.
So basically 24 hours of after footage of an African man trying to saw the head off a Scottish victim in Belfast Street circulated online. Irish politicians and journalists openly discuss on live TV how such videos can be suppressed in the future. We're going down a dark road. Yeah. And he's right.
And Muslims especially enslaved a lot of Europeans. Based on a tally I did a while back, 14 million Europeans were enslaved by Muslims.
3/4 of the original Christian world was conquered by Islam through extreme violence of the sort that ISIS, the Islamic State, which epitomized in the modern era, atrocities. What those caliphates and sultanates did in the 7th and 8th centuries make ISIS look like Boy Scouts, believe it or not. The sheer horror.
The caliphate was destroyed, but we want to return to this greatness. We want to conquer the world again.
Khalifatul Ard is not just your Muslim land, it's the whole universe. And as low as the planet Earth, the human affairs, that you need to take control of and put the word of God in there through the Quran and making sure everything is done, according to the Quran. Little and big, every single thing.
Islam continued to grow. It grew out of the Middle East. It went into China. It conquered Spain. It conquered parts of Italy, parts of Europe. And by the 1600s, Islam had covered more of the earth's surface than the Roman Empire did at its peak. And during that war and during that expansion, 280 million people died.
In Islam, when we conquer a country, of course, there's nothing peaceful about it.
The Islamic slave trade operated for over 1,400 years, from the 7th century until the early 20th century. Conservative estimates suggest that 11 to 17 million Africans were enslaved and transported to Islamic lands, but the true number was likely much higher. The Islamic slave trade differed from the Atlantic trade in one crucial and horrifying way: systematic castration. Between 80 and 90% of male slaves destined for Islamic markets were castrated, either before transport or upon arrival. The mortality rate from this procedure was approximately 90%, making it essentially a death sentence.
So how can there be descendants of slaves if the slaves had their nuts cut off? Just saying. How can there be descendants of slaves if their nuts were cut off? Something to think about. Yeah. Dr. King.
Very briefly, Congresswoman, I am a bit emotional. I'm going to watch what I say. But it seems as though you have suggested that I am a bastard to the King family legacy. I am legitimately the daughter of Reverend Alfred Daniel Williams King and Dr. Naomi Ruth Barber King. We are a family who loves God, and I love you. God bless you. Very.
That was after Jasmine Crockett ran her pie hole, insulting the woman. Like she's the black sheep of the family kind of disrespect. Yeah. UK police arrest Christian for wearing a sign because it's likely to cause harassment, alarm, or distress. The man currently on being arrested for expressing freedom of speech. Speech, he said.
Currently, I'm being arrested for expressing freedom of speech.
This gentleman has committed an offence by displaying sign or writing that is likely to cause harassment, alarm or distress.
I'm wearing a sign which says the trans flag, which is included in the Pride demonstration, at great lengths, equals mental illness, which is greatly the case. That is why young people have been mutilated. That is why young people have been. That's why the Tavistock Clinic was closed down for mutilating young people. I'm now going to be searched. Apparently, I'm provoking. Apparently, what I'm doing is harmful. I've done nothing wrong. I've exercised my right to demonstrate. I've exercised my right to protest. I've exercised my inalienable rights, God-given. The UK used to be free. Did you remember those times? In lockdown, we didn't see that, did we? We saw the police behave horrifically. We saw what the police doing now, cuffing me for what? Freedom of expression, freedom of speech, inciting nothing. I had calm, rational debates with people. I was not disrespectful. I love people. I'm a Christian. Of course, please don't like Christians these days. I am currently under arrest for wearing a sign which subjectively you deem as being too controversial to provoke.
About controversial? And what is that? The fact that it is likely to cause harassment, alarm or distress.
So you admit that these people are what?
I'm not saying anything about these people. I don't think that's a necessary part of the offence that you've committed.
No, actually, I identify as a woman. Can I have a woman search me? Welcome to George Orwell, 1984, 2025. Thank you. Badge numbers and so forth, but yeah, apparently nonsense. So I've got a police officer giving his opinion now. That's rare. I thought they were supposed to be impartial. I'm not scared of you. I'm not scared of you. You don't scare me. You serve the public. You are responsible for arresting someone for freedom of speech. Well done, you. I hope you sleep well at night. Good night, guys.
Mr. Tons.
Yeah, but you know what? I think that I think that it's going to change soon. The first riots in Belfast started after a protest in Cloughfern. Suddenly, 200 masked men broke away from protesters and marched in the rain over to an area where asylum seekers were being housed in taxpayer-funded apartments. They smashed up every window in those buildings.
On the outskirts of North Belfast, several hundred people gathered at the Cloughfern roundabout. After the speeches, 200 masked men broke away and marched into the White Abbey estate. On the outskirts of North Belfast.
Yeah. They took out all the windows. Landlords there are going to be spending some money to get them back up to par. Yeah. All right, Representative Tim Burchett.
We're up against corruption. We're up against a cover-up. This thing's been covered up at least since 1947. Dadgummit, the public deserves the right to know. It's your dadgum tax dollars. It's not about little green men or flying saucers. It's about what are we spending all these millions and possibly billions of dollars on that these idiots tell us don't exist. And then yet we turn right around in the skip and then they tell us they do exist. This is a cover-up. You all know it. We know it. We demand the answers, and dadgummit, we're going to get them. Look, we got one or two bites at this apple. Please be careful about the false information that's coming out of Washington on all this stuff. Trust your gut. You know what's right. You know they exist. You know this has been a cover-up since before most of y'all been born.
Tim Burchett is right. If aliens supposedly don't exist, then why do we have to keep funding all this alien and UAP research? So I was just wondering, how much money are we actually spending on these programs? And of course, most of it is pretty secret, but there is some estimates here, and it's in the tens of millions of dollars. And it goes through some of the programs here, $22 million over 5 years for black money. These are the dark projects by the Pentagon. And then we have some more office stuff, historical programs. This is stuff that is declassified that we have a little bit of insight into. This is probably more accurate in the $60 million range just since the 2000s. But most of the money is going to be hidden in these black budget projects. These are $80 billion annually. And this is the stuff that the intelligence community, the Pentagon, the military, none of these people have to actually disclose what they're doing. It's all in these hidden files that you can Freedom of Information Act request, and you'll never get access to any of it.
Yep. There you go. I like how he did that. He did a good job with that. Yep. He pulled up the corroborative information and put it right there in your face. All right. And then let's see, we're going to jump past this one and let's go.
Sean, CENTCOM has just announced that the airstrikes targeting Iran have ended for now. 20 targets in total were struck. The strikes began at 5 p.m. Eastern. The initial targets included air defense systems and radars. Explosions have been reported at least 6 sites on Keshem Island, over Bushehr, Hamadan, and in Iran's port city of Sirak, near the mouth of the Strait of Hormuz, and also Bandar Abbas, one of the main oil terminal port cities. CENTCOM called the strikes defensive and proportional. Iran's deputy foreign minister claimed that Iran had not fired any drones in the past 24 hours, but a senior U.S. official tells Fox it was an Iranian Shahed drone that shot down the U.S. Apache helicopter that had 2 Americans on board near the Strait of Hormuz yesterday. U.S. officials are not certain the Iranians meant to target the American helicopter, but say it doesn't matter because they saw Iran launch multiple drones at that time over the strait, targeting vessels in the international corridor. The 2 U.S. airmen were rescued by a Corsair, a 24-foot autonomous surface vessel with a 1,000 nautical mile range and a 1,000-pound payload capacity, built by Saronic Technologies. This is the first time the U.S. military or any military has used a sea drone to find and rescue stranded airmen.
Yeah. Yep. We knew about that one. Yep. And then Brendan Gill, the Judiciary Committee.
Should illegal aliens receive taxpayer-funded unemployment benefits?
It's not an area of my expertise either. My concern primarily is
your
with the people
organization
that I work with
promoted a petition telling Governor Newsom to sign
Chairman,
AB 2847. This is your organization, the
Mr.
National
Chairman.
Day Laborers Organizing Network. AB 2847 will provide unemployment benefits to workers who are ineligible to receive unemployment insurance solely due to their immigration status.
Mr. Chairman, if I could answer your first question.
I'm asking you, do you think that illegal aliens should receive taxpayer-funded unemployment benefits?
Well, first off, I don't know what you mean by illegal aliens, but if you're talking about residents in the state of California, then the answer is yes.
People who entered our country illegally.
People come here for all kinds of reasons and
without
all kinds
documentation.
Of ways. Residents in California.
Should illegal, this is a really simple question. Should illegal aliens receive taxpayer-funded unemployment benefits?
I think people in the state of California should receive.
So illegal aliens should receive taxpayer-funded unemployment benefits.
Again, that's your word. And what I'm trying to get you to do, Congressman, what I'm trying to get you to do is to stop throwing around
trying to get 1,000 signatures.
Like
you only got 503. I think it's worth pointing out because that's a crazy idea.
Brandon Gill does not hold back, and I think it's important to understand the extent that that it goes. And then let's go here.
If somebody does a Nazi salute in a public forum or in public view, would that be a factor? It could be. Could be. Okay. What about burning a cross?
It could be a factor depending on the context.
Okay. Have tattoos like Nazi symbols?
We believe that Nazi symbols are symbols of hate. Yes.
What about if the individual had knowledge of what the Nazi symbol was when they put the tattoo on their body, or at least learned about it?
I'm not sure that I'm following your line of questions.
Well, I think it would show intent, right? Like intent would be that the person knew that the tattoo that they placed on their body was a Nazi tattoo.
I'm not sure I can comment on someone else's intent.
I think your own website talks about this. So this is an easy yes. What if this individual referred to their tattoo as a Totenkopf?
I'm not sure I know.
You know who I'm describing right now?
No, I don't.
I think you do, actually. It's Graham Plattner from Maine. Like, this is like, he was probably the best thing that y'all had coming because it actually distracted the media narrative away from the SPLC for like 2 days while they focused on this. But why would a Graham Plattner not be included on your extremist files? If he was a Republican, he probably would be, right?
We don't use political ideology,
Okay.
a political party to identify who is on our list.
Well, I think you say you go after the members of the right, but I think as Dr. King was talking about before she stepped out, that this racism knows no ideology or political party. In fact, the Democrat Party has a very long and troubled history since its inception in the 1820s and 30s of supporting slavery, of supporting segregation, of continuing to perpetuate racism in our country. And so the fraud that you have perpetuated on your donors and the American people at the expense of eviscerating hate, you're only targeting one sect of people. It makes absolutely no sense. The organization should be ashamed of itself.
Should be. Yep. I would have given him overtime. That's just me though. The Department of Justice has issued an opinion to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC, that its guidelines about disparate impact liability under Title 12 of the Civil Rights Act are unconstitutional. The Office of Legal Counsel found that the EEOC's guidelines pressured employers to engage in racial discrimination. Despite trying to promote equality, EEOC's disparate impact liability interpretation under Title 7, actually fosters the very discrimination its guidelines seek to address, said Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. This opinion will now allow businesses to hire based on performance, restoring equal opportunities in the American workplace. Yeah, so your color ain't going to help you no more. And this is kind of disheartening in a way to look at Sharon and see what kind of condition she's in physically. But let's take a listen.
I think, yeah, we need to get medieval.
Fucking right. Throw a stone at your head.
Medieval, but for them all. No, I'm not even fucking saying left or it's like, fuck it, they're all.
Listen, Jack, look at the world. We've got a wanker. Keir Starmer's a wanker in England. He's as weak as fucking maiden's water, right? And he's the flip-flopper. He is a wanker.
Yeah, no, Keir Starmer
is a wanker.
Is a wanker, for sure.
Absolute wanker. You feel not 1 ounce of security when this man talks.
He is the perfect example of what I said about there being really two class of people, urban and rural. That is a man who has lived and breathed every day of his life in an urban environment, who has no real understanding of what people who don't live in a city.
You know what he used to do?
Yeah,
he was a fucking immigration lawyer.
Yeah.
For terrorists.
Yeah. I mean, how can anyone expect anything else?
Yeah, that's what he was.
It's funny. I think
two of the biggest terrorists he represented, they got banged up as they should, but he still sued the government and got him money.
Yeah. And whose idea was it to put this guy in charge?
Not me.
Yeah.
And he got busted. Listen, he had some guy that was putting money into the party, the Labour Party, and he was buying the wanker clothes.
Wasn't one of his guys one of Epstein's dudes?
Yes. The ambassador in Washington. Just our English ambassador in Washington, that's all.
Was one of Epstein's buddies.
Yep.
And he knew
and
that.
Andrews. And he knew. He knew. He's lying, saying he never knew. You lying, you wanker.
She likes saying that word. I don't know if it was just me or not. I don't know if that was just me or not, but I think that she likes that word, wanker. Yeah. I've been trying to find the original version of that song. I don't know if you guys remember. It was in a pub setting of Keir Starmer's a wanker. I haven't been able to find it yet, but one of these days I will find it and bring it back because to me that was absolutely the best version of Keir Starmer's a wanker. You know, that I have heard to this day. Yeah. I said it. said it. Yeah. And here's Miss Crockett's remarks.
If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Does that sound like a hater or not?
That sounds like a racial stereotype.
Okay, sounds good to me.
I had a previous colleague that talked about seeing a black pilot and what that would mean to Charlie Kirk's comments. And it's funny, black pilot here, by the way. I actually went to flight school, West Point graduate, learned how to fly the Apache helicopter, went to flight school in 2005. You see, there was no DEI. We just simply competed with everyone else, and I was selected, fought in combat, went on to fly 55 combat air missions, and nobody gave a damn what I looked like because I got there on merit. What DEI does is it lowers standards based on race and based on gender.
If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, I believe that you were put in your place by Mr. Wesley Hunt, our great representative of, I believe, the state of Texas, if I'm not mistaken. Is that where he's from? He's a West Point graduate, Army veteran. And yes, he's Texas. Yes. Yeah. All right. So this is the most powerful video you'll see today. This is John Clauser, a Nobel Prize in Physics, and 1,500 more scientists at the Quantum Korea say there is no climate change. There is no climate emergency.
Without further ado, please join me in welcoming to the stage John Clauser, 2022 Nobel Prize winner in Physics. 여러분 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.
I assert that real truth can only be found by observing natural phenomena. The current world is saturated with pseudoscience, with bad science, with scientific misinformation and disinformation, and what I will call techno-cons. Perception of truth frequently differs significantly from real truth. Moreover, given sufficient promotion and advertising, perception of truth becomes truth. Its promotion by commercial enterprise is called marketing. You can change truth. You can claim false observations if necessary. My favorite in this act is ChatGPT. It's very good at doing exactly that. It has lots of man-made pseudoscience that copy and manipulate and emulate. It can lie and cheat even better than its human mentors. Recently, the Nobel Foundation has formed a new panel to address the issue called the International Panel on Information Environment. They plan to model it after the UN's International Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC. I think personally that they're making a big mistake in that effort because, in my opinion, the IPCC is one of the worst sources of dangerous misinformation. I believe that climate change is not a crisis. Real truth could be found if and only if you learn to recognize and use good science. It's especially true when real truth is politically incorrect and does not reflect political business aims or desires of leaders. Regarding climate change, the dominant process, I believe, has been misidentified by factors of 200. The lack of scientific knowledge allows science and pseudoscience to promote what I will refer to as technocons, political opportunistic aims. Very importantly, a referee must apply good calculus-based statistical methods along with good common sense. I would also like to consider methods used by two of my former associates at University of California, Berkeley, Nobel laureates, when they were shown data, a group of data points, and told, look, the trend is obvious.
Yep. Just saying, this stuff is out there. It's out there, right out in public, right out where everybody can see it. But nobody's looking. Yeah. Autis 17 or 17th says she's exactly right. See, this is what a lot of MAGA people, even some Anons, don't get because they are affected by emotional responses. Logic dictates a different story, though. Even Q told us that there are more good than bad people within the government positions. It doesn't take a lot of people to do a big mess. Let's see what he's talking about.
I'll take enemies defecting to Trump. What you have is what we're calling Trumpification. You have a whole layer of the establishment and the elites. And honestly, you have a whole layer of the American population, which has lived for the past 30 or 40 years in a world dominated by globalist rules, where the globalists steamrolled over anybody who got in their way. And people basically said, all right, well, that's the world I got to live in. I'm going to figure out how to survive in that world because I don't see any way to fight it. Then along comes Donald Trump. 2016, we saw everything that happened to him to try and prevent a repeat of 2016. We know what happened in 2020, but they failed to prevent that repeat in 2024. He's there. He's got a cabinet with real depth. He's got potential successors, whomever they may end up being, with real depth, who share his worldview. So that means you're in a different kind of world than you were, I would say, prior to January 2025, when he got inaugurated. A world in which a lot of people are starting to say, oh, maybe you can fight them. Maybe there is the power to actually defeat this global elite. I think I'm going to join that fight. And that's what's happening. It's happening with people, inside the institutions, and it's happening with a large part of the American population. So we always counsel, don't treat everything as a noun. This person was bad, therefore they will always be bad. Well, some of them may, because some of them may actually be committed to bad ideas. But there's a lot of people who went along with the bad ideas, honestly, because they were cowards. And now somebody with the courage to fight is along, and they're ready to fight for the good ideas. So I think that's happening on one level. There's another level where obviously people like Mark Carney, the Center for American Progress, a whole layer of the Democratic Party is saying this left-wing radical crap isn't working. We're being rejected by a layer of the American population. We need to rebrand. And so they're going to try and rebrand like Tony Blair and Mark Carney and so on. I don't think anybody's going to buy their rebranding.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole lot there in there. Yep. So it's only reasonable to assume once the conditions are right, all those people who just played along but did not necessarily agree with what the bad actors had in plan will jump ship because finally they had a good captain in sight and who gets things done. Trump told us plainly, trust the plan, just not empty words. Yeah. And then from over there.
My name's Reverend Chris Wickland, and today I'm deeply shocked and saddened, almost tearful at what I saw on X and various other footage this morning coming out from Belfast of a black African man straddled on top of a white man and potentially trying to cut his head off, trying to decapitate him. And people managed to stop him. And the guy that had the knife attack on his throat is in hospital now. And, no sooner have we dealt with the issue of Henry Novak with two-tier policing, two-tier justice, equity, diversity and inclusion, which means equity means fairness goes to those of a different religion or of a different color than to white. Now, let's not forget the CPS. If it wasn't for Robert Jenrick that exposed it, the CPS, I believe they tried to put through legislation that basically would give people of migrants, the court would give them leniency over a white person. This is unbelievable. And what is the cause of all this? And it is basically open border, mass migration, all the illegal migration. They're not just coming in on small boats, they're coming in on lorries and all other areas as well. And Ireland is quite specifically seeing the front end of this, probably more so than we are here in Britain. But it's just like, when is enough enough? We have the grooming gang scandal. The police wouldn't deal with it because it would be deemed racist. So mass injustice, mass industrial rape went on our young, on our girls, on our young women, and even potentially some of those have been murdered. But nothing was done about it because it was deemed racist. Well, what has happened to our nation? And we have politicians like the three monkeys. The politicians put their hands over their eyes. We don't want to see any evil that's going on that we have brought upon this nation. Fingers in their ears. We don't want to hear what evil we have brought upon this nation. And they won't speak out against injustice. And neither will we speak about the evil that's been going on in this nation. This nation is at breaking point. I don't condone violence of any kind. Obviously, I don't. And don't ever quote me thinking that I do, because I don't. But the potential for civil unrest is now really, really high. You know, if there was a DEFCON, I'd say we're like nearly right to the top. People have had enough of this. And we've had enough of being gaslit by our politicians that somehow we're the ones that are in the wrong. Now, I need to make this clear as well. And I'm going to say something that's actually really quite disturbing. And I need to say this because it has to be said. Now, in the Southport riots, which our Prime Minister came out and said, this was done by the far right and we shall have the full force of the law against them. Something that you may not know, and please forgive me if this disturbs you, but we need to hear this, is that one of those girls that were murdered in Southport basically had her head nearly cut off, all right, decapitated. That's why people were so enraged with anger. That's why people were on the streets doing what they were doing, because they are tired of people around them and politicians not listening to their plight, not listening to their cry. And then to the Prime Minister within hours to go on TV and say that this was done by the far right. Again, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. We are so tired of politicians that do not stand up for the people of this nation.
Yep. And you can't blame them all for feeling that way. You just can't.
He walks with pride, but hides from truth. Acts like he cares, but we've got proof. Behind the grin, behind the spin, it's just a puppet trying to win. He talks like a robot, smiles like a snake, says what they want, then pumps the brakes. Every single day he lies. Couldn't find truth with both his eyes. Slicks to a grin, all empty chat. Needs a Jiminy Cricket to tell him he's crap. A conscience lost, a wooden nose, Pinocchio.
Yeah, I can't get away with playing too much of the song though, because we'll get in trouble for it. Yeah, they'll probably send me a message telling me I got to clip that out, because they do have it up on YouTube. So, it's I don't want to get in trouble for it. What I was looking for was the pub one with the guys in kilts. That was the one that I really loved. That was the one I was trying to find. Just, yeah. Is that going to lead to the song? You know what? Get this. Let's see if this works. Hey, Grok, there was a Grok. There was a post maybe 6 months to a year ago that about Keir Starmer's a wanker, and it was a song, but this was an AI generated video of a guy in a kilt in a pub. Can you find that?
Sounds like you're thinking of one of those viral AI-generated Keir Starmer wanker satire videos. There's a popular sea shanty called Wan Keir Ahoy, the Wankerman, that's sung in a proper rowdy pub style. That might be the one. A bunch of these AI clips with the chant floating around, including some with @IFindWankers on X, who makes loads of them. Want me to try and dig up a specific link?
Yes, please do.
Found it, or at least the closest match. It's this viral sea shanty called Wan Keir Ahoy, the Wankerman, a proper rowdy pub-style roast of Keir Starmer with the Keir Starmer's a wanker chant. The video's got that AI-generated feel, set in a lively pub atmosphere. Here's the link, youtube.com. It's from about 9 months ago, which fits your timeline. If that's not the exact kilt one, drop me more details and I'll keep hunting.
Oh, gather round and lend me your ear. This is the tale of two-tier Keir, known across the land as the Granny Harmer, a soulless little man who betrayed the farmer. Hey! He stands at the podium talking shite. No backbone, no fire, just an embarrassing sight. A puppet for donors that pull on his string. Can't answer a question, can't deliver anything. Keir Starmer's a wanker. Keir Starmer's a wank, wank, wank. Keir Starmer's a wanker. A liar, a coward, a wank, wank, wank. Starmer's a parasite lining his nest, a two-faced liar, no better than the rest. A man with no passion, a puppet, a plank. Now let's be honest, the guy's just a wank. Keir Starmer's a wanker. Keir Starmer's a wank, wank, wank. Keir Starmer's a wanker. A liar, a coward, a wank, wank, wank. A knight of the realm, he's a bloody disgrace, a deceitful fraud who would lie to your face. He'd hand back our freedom, betray what we won, to crawl back to Brussels, the toolmaker's son. So raise up your glasses, let's make it clear, we've all had enough of two-tier Keir. He promised us plenty, delivered us nought, so shout it together, we want him out! Keir Starmer's a wanker, wank, wank, wank. Keir Starmer's a wanker, wank, wank, wank. Keir Starmer's a wanker, wank, wank, wank. Keir Starmer's a wanker, wank, 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 wank.
Okay, and that was put up by hold on, I gotta see the name of it, and that was it's up on the We Are True Patriots channel on YouTube. We Are True Patriots. And again, thank you, Grog, for finding that for us. We appreciate that. I knew I'd find it one of these days. It's. Remember, I was looking for it a couple of months ago too, when Kira really started showing his colors, uh, right out there, where everybody was seeing it, and he was avoiding Trump like crazy because he knew that he was in the shit. Yeah. So, Hegseth, here we go.
For more than a century, Boy Scouts of America prepared over 130 million American boys to make moral and ethical choices, not just during their formative years, but for a lifetime as they grew into men. The first few words of the Scout Oath exemplify this. Quote, "On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country." The Boy Scouts are embedded in our communities. They're sponsored by community organizations, service clubs, and churches. Many Boy Scouts have gone on to senior leadership positions in their communities, in business, in our nation's military, and as elected representatives in local, state, and national office. 6 Boy Scouts have been elected President of the United States. 11 of the 12 men to walk on the moon, Boy Scouts. Boy Scout training focused on responsible citizenship, character and leadership development, patriotism, personal fitness, self-reliance, faith, and a wide range of outdoor skills. It was a great program, and this department had a close relationship with the Scouts almost since its inception, as many troops meet on military bases. After 2012, however, the Boy Scouts lost their way, and a once great organization became gravely wounded. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, crept in. The name was changed to Scouting America. Girls were accepted. The focus on God as the ruler of the universe was watered down to include openness to humanism and earth-centered pagan religions. Scouting became an organization that no longer supported and celebrated boys. They even welcomed the destructive myth of gender fluidity and transgenderism to infiltrate their membership. Along the way, standards were lowered and merit destroyed in favor of an insidious, radical, woke ideology that is anti-America and anti-American. The result, membership cratered. Americans didn't want this. In 1970, 10 million boys participated in Boy Scouts. Currently, less than 1 million boys and girls participate. Further, many of these community organizations that once supported Scout troops, they withdrew their support. And Scouting America, the parent organization, filed for bankruptcy protection. The changes Scouting America made since 2012 have also jeopardized the relationship with this department. And I was very seriously considering ending our support of Scouting altogether. We have a department to protect, after all. Beyond that, the policies Scouting America have in place violate President Trump's Executive Order 14173, entitled Ending Illegal Discrimination and Restoring Merit-Based Opportunity. But before making this big change, I decided to meet with the current Scouting leadership to convey our deep concerns. Based on that face-to-face conversation and subsequent conversations, Scouting America agreed to make several key reforms. And let me briefly highlight a few of them. First, Scouting America has agreed to comply immediately with the provisions of Executive Order 14173. This includes reviewing and replacing politicized, divisive, and discriminatory language throughout the organization, programs, and all publications. No more DEI, zero. Second, the, quote, Citizen in Society Merit Badge that encouraged Scouts to explore diversity, equity, inclusion, and identity. They always mask it under a name that sounds great, but it's doing something else. And then asks those Scouts to engage in activism on those topics. That badge has been discontinued. Third, Scouting America will modify its policy to make clear that membership will be based solely on biological sex at birth and not gender identity. That means that the application, any application, will have only 2 sex designations, male and female, and the application must match the applicant's birth certificate. Scouting will also make clear that biological boys and girls will not be allowed to occupy or share intimate spaces together, toilets, showers, tents, anywhere like that. Fourth, Scouting America will honor those who serve by waiving the registration fees for children of active duty, Guard, and Reserve families. Should have happened a long time ago. Fifth, in partnership with the War Department, Scouting America will introduce a new military service merit badge. These and other changes that Scouting America's leadership committed to, in that room right over there, will hopefully result in a rededication to the foundational ideals that have defined Scouting for generations: duty to God and country, leadership, character, and service. However, as President Reagan famously said, trust but verify. This agreement is new, and the department's support for Scouting America is contingent on them making substantial progress toward reaching these and many other positive changes in the next 6 months. At that time, we'll vigorously review progress and decide whether or not to continue our support. The onus is squarely on Scouting America to deliver. If we're unsatisfied with Scouting America's progress toward and commitment to the agreed upon reforms, we will find them in violation of the president's executive order and cease our support. We hope that doesn't happen, but it could. Ideally, I believe the Boy Scouts should go back to being the Boy Scouts, as originally founded, a group that develops boys into men, maybe someday. There are also additional youth and boys organizations, groups like Trail Life USA and Awana clubs, that are already compliant with President Trump's executive order that the department may eventually support as well. But we're watching, and we're watching closely. We look forward to providing you with updates after our 6-month review, and wish the best to Scouting America.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, right? Yeah. Lisa McLean.
In California, one fraudster, Paul Richard Randall, super nice guy here, he recently pled guilty to submitting $270 million in fraudulent Medicare claims for medically unnecessary prescription drugs, many of which never even were given to the patients. This is the guys that the Democrats are protecting. This guy, what a nice guy. He benefited $270 million while people didn't get the care that they needed. That's sick. This is disgusting. And I hope they put this guy away for a long, long time. He took advantage of a temporary loophole in the system, flooding Medicaid with fraudulent claims and pocketing millions of dollars. Real swell guy, huh? Now he faces up to 30 years behind bars for ripping off the Americans. You know what that is? That's theft. That's theft of your hard-earned tax dollars. That's stealing from you. That's stealing from vulnerable Americans. And that's stealing from every family that expects these programs to actually help the people that they're designed to help.
Sparky, I have to ask you, do you know that because you tried? or he's stating it for a friend? Oh Lord. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah. This is gonna be one of those days. I can just see it already. I can see it already. The good thing is the sun's out today, so yeah, but you're right. The Girl Scouts didn't let anybody in since 1912, but you know, through Scouting America, they blended the two together. And the thing is that in doing so, you know, you took away some very authentic things that degraded what we call the nuclear family, you know. Because think about it, you know, in the brownies, you know, I think they started in the Bluebirds, then they became brownies, and then they became Girl Scouts. Okay. Now, when I was a young man, or not a young man, a teenager, I'd have done anything to get in with the Girl Scouts. Not because I wanted to wear their clothes, but because most of them were pretty hot, you know, and they were learning to cook and things like that. Yeah, learning to cook and sew and do household things that keep a family together. They were taught about nurturing the child within themselves. At the same time, they were learning to, nurture their children in the future, right? The things that you pass down generation to generation to generation. It gave everybody, whether it was a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout, it gave generational knowledge, because most scoutmasters were scouts themselves. Yeah, and so on. So it was things being passed down. But there was a lot of bad people mixed in there too, though. So I'm not going to deny that. So this woman here, this Muslim-only app, Go Marhaba, is openly boycotting non-Muslim businesses to build a parallel Islamic economy. Florida, what's going on?
Go Marhaba is a platform where users can redirect their spending to support Muslim-owned businesses.
The Go Marhaba app, which helps us find local Muslim businesses that we can support, helps us do business with each other and keep our money circulating within the community so we can build the strength that we need to effectively serve our faith and serve our country to be the best version it can be.
So when I heard about Go Marhaba and that they're actually putting this together, a national level business directory for Muslims, so we can actually keep our money in-house and build autonomy in-house.
I want to say one thing. If we do not support each other, who's going to support us? Okay, it's like if you are from the community to the community, the best way to do it is to invest with the community businesses entrepreneurship.
I would say it's for us as Muslim, this is a life-saving strategy on the long term. This is the economy power that we need. We don't have any platform like that right now. So having that platform where you can easily identify a Muslim business, why not?
So if you want jewelry, you look up jewelry. If you want honey, you look up honey. If you want food, grocery, an architect, an electrician, a pharmacist, anybody who is Muslim owned can list on there and the community can then circulate their spending to support. So if you're a business owner, make sure you go to gomarhaba.com.
So their objective is to keep the money circulating in their communities and not have it go outside of their communities at all. Basically, thus building their own economic system that is outside of our own. Basically, placing our economics under Sharia law is basically what their attempt is. So Florida just became ground zero for the calculated economic power play. Telling you, there's a lot to this. It's Muslim households buy from Muslim grocers who hire Muslim accountants who hire Muslim roofers and so on. The goal, make the Muslim dollar circulate 10 times before it leaves our community, rendering everyone else economically irrelevant. Just saying, there's something to it. And in Pritzker.
On the topic of funding for the Chicago Bears
Yes.
to stay in Chicago.
Yeah.
You said that you didn't want to spend any taxpayer dollars for the Bears to
No, I
stay.
said I don't want to raise taxes to pay for
or
it. That's
raise
for sure.
taxes, But yet you've been more than happy and even proud to spend billions of taxpayer dollars on illegal aliens.
No, that's not true.
We all know that the Bears generate revenue.
Can I
Illegal
call you
aliens-
William?
Please.
Okay,
Illegal
William.
aliens, if I may
I
ask
think
my
you
question.
know that. Oh, I'm sorry. I
If may
thought
ask the
that
question.
was the question.
We know that the Bears generate revenue. Illegal
Yes.
aliens typically
100%.
typically are a drain on taxpayer dollars. Do you think that long term, especially when you're running for president of the United States, losing the Chicago Bears will be a bad decision?
William, you've conflated a lot of and mistakenly presented the history. You may not recall that it was the governor of Texas Abbott, who decided to throw people onto buses and ship them across the country, 55,000 of them to the city of Chicago, to the state of Illinois. Yeah, we didn't get much help from the federal government to deal with that. And so the question you have to ask yourself is, in a humanitarian crisis, when people are arriving in the middle of winter often, without the proper clothing, certainly without food, without shelter.
But if only I had ICE's phone number to call them and say, hey, we have busloads of people here that don't belong in our country. Then that would have alleviated any cost to Chicago whatsoever, and all of those people would have been sent back home. But I didn't have ICE's phone number. I mean, Department of Homeland Security. I had no connection to that. I had no phone number. I couldn't call anybody. You're the fucking governor of the fucking state of Illinois. And you can't pick up the phone and call ICE and say, I've got 52,000 illegal aliens that are draining my system. Why won't you give me your number? Oh my God. Oh, what are we going to do? Oh, yeah. All right. And then from Lindell TV, here we go.
We're looking into the case of E. Jean Carroll versus Donald Trump. Carroll accusing Trump of sexually assaulting her in a dressing room of a department store back in the 1990s. Well, in 2023, a federal jury found Trump liable for sexual abuse and defamation, awarding Carroll $5 million. And then a separate jury ordered Trump to pay $83.3 million. But an appeals court has now paused the payout, and this could go to the Supreme Court. President Trump has denied all allegations. To discuss the dirty politics, the E. Jean Carroll story, and more is radio host Kevin Jackson. Kevin, good to have you on the show today. Thanks so much for being here. Look, from my view, in my opinion, everything from the beginning in this case has seemed sketchy. Her story doesn't sound legit to me. It never has. You've followed this from the beginning. Is it fabricated?
Oh my gosh, this story is as made up as anything. I mean, when you look at the politics of today, whether you're looking at the 2020 election, J6, all of it, totally fabricated. Look, E. Jean Carroll has been a kook for a long time. And what's interesting is the number of men that she's accused of sexual assault. We've written about it. It's no less than 6 other people. And they're generally high profile folks. But you don't need to go very far into E. Jean Carroll's past to look at that, whether it's looking at the CBS former president Moons or any of the other guys that were accused. She is absolutely certifiably crazy. And anybody that's ever been to Bergdorf's, my wife and I were there because we go to New York every year to go to the Gold Gloves, and we decided to go in the store. And I'm telling you, it is a mausoleum with clothes. You can hear a pin drop in this store, and the people are so attentive. The minute you walk in, they treat everybody like you're a superstar. I'm not a rich guy, but they came in. What are you looking for, sir? Can we help you? And I joked that they weren't following me around because I'm black. They followed me around because they're helpful. And you go into the store, and there's just no way that situation could have happened. And so, but Democrats did it like a Jussie Smollett. They took the story on face value, not because it had any potential, but just because they wanted to get President Trump. Now think about the backdrop of this, Vanessa. You've got one of the most popular guys in New York at the height of his career. Donald Trump, I believe at this point was, he certainly was a billionaire mogul. I don't know if he was doing Celebrity Apprentice, but he was writing books, set The Art of the Deal. He's in movies. Rappers are talking about this guy. He is the most prominent figure in New York City, certainly in the top 10, probably bar none. And he is supposed to have gone into a Bergdorf's, set his sights on E. Jean Carroll, which you can see I kind of have to chuckle a little bit at the idea that that's who he would go for. And then let's not forget, this is a guy that's been around the most beautiful women in the world with the with the Miss America pageants and what have you. And the ghost of Stormy Daniels is what I think about every time I think about this story. Now she's in trouble.
Yeah,
Eugene Carroll is what
Stormy
I'm
Daniels.
saying.
Yeah, and Stormy Daniels, that's another hot mess right there. But yes, when it comes to E. Jean Carroll, from the start to the finish, I mean, this has just been a story of, yeah, right. I mean, that's how I take it. Of course, it's just my opinion. You're getting yours, and I'm sure the viewers at home have theirs. But it goes further than that. After she's awarded, Kevin, this money, she goes on national television and brags about it. A true victim of assault is not going to go brag about it. They're going to counseling. They're trying to overcome this. This is traumatizing, because there are true stories out there who women are victimized,
Absolutely.
and these women, this haunts them for years and sometimes their entire life. She goes on national TV and says, what are we going to do with this money? Let's go on vacation. Let's go shopping. Let's take a look at what she had to say once this money was awarded to her.
You've talked about using some of Trump's money that you're about to get to help shore up women's rights. Do you know what that might be, what that might look like?
Yes, Rachel. Yes.
Tell me.
I had such great ideas for all the good I'm going to do with this money. First thing, Rachel, you and I are going to go shopping. We're going to get completely new wardrobes, new shoes, motorcycle for Crowley, new fishing rod for Robbie. Rachel, what do you want? Penthouse? It's yours,
Nothing.
Rachel. Penthouse and France? You want France? You want to go fishing in France? No? Oh, all right. Okay.
That's a joke. Although if me fishing in France could do something for women's rights, I would take the hit. I would obviously take one for the team. All right, let me as if.
Border czar Tom Homan, welcome to National Report, sir. So it sounds to me like Hochul wants to defy the federal government if you should bring in those ICE agents. Sir, what is your message to the governor, and what kind of resistance are you expecting?
Well, first of all, she don't know what she's talking about. See, the reason ICE officers are wearing masks because threats against ICE officers, death threats are up over 8,000%. And why is that? Because of people like her who want to miss messages to the American, lie to the American people. She talks about sanctuary cities. We don't want them arresting people in churches or schools or hospitals. Well, Governor Hochul, give me one example, just one. Anywhere in the United States where ICE has arrested somebody in a hospital, arrested somebody in an elementary school, arrested somebody in a church. That didn't happen. But that type of messaging to American people she's trying, that increases the threats against ICE because people think, I can't believe they're going in churches and arresting people. It's simply not happening. And she said she supports, working on the criminal handling. They shouldn't be here either. Well, I got news for her. Since she's been governor, thousands of public safety threats have been released to the street in New York City and throughout the state since she's governor. So she says one thing, she does another one. She's lying to the American people.
It's interesting that she said in that sound clip that that masks are meant to frighten, to intimidate. Yet all the protesters over at that Newark ICE facility, they're all in masks. They've got masks, goggles, hats, everything. And they're yelling directly at the ICE agents, yelling, we're going to kill you. We're going to kill your family. We've got your face. So it seems like there might be a reason that ICE agents could need at times to have masks on.
Look, this is not a political stunt. She knows she's not going to stop us wearing masks. California did that, and the district court said it's unlawful. So we're going to keep doing our job in New York State. However, because she signed that legislation, it did a couple of things. Number one, she on one hand, she's saying, I want to work with ICE on criminal aliens. But then she signs legislation that locks us out of jails,
right?
Ends the 287G agreements. She can't square that. You can't square that you agree arresting criminal aliens and sign legislation that locks us out of all the jails, ends the 287G agreements.
Mr. Holman, why in the world would any politician say, don't take my criminal illegal aliens? Let me keep them. Why would they do that to their citizens?
A couple of things. Number one is about hatred for President Trump. They don't want President Trump to have a win. Second of all, look, where we see with 4 years of open borders, with millions of illegal aliens, many of them criminals released in the United States, where was she then? She was complicit. She didn't say anything. And this is why. That 4 years open borders wasn't an accident. It wasn't mismanagement. It wasn't incompetence. That was by design. Released millions of illegal aliens in our sanctuary cities. And they overturned the Trump census rule, which means they'd be counted in the next census, which means what? More seats in the House for the Dems. And they're hoping that another Democratic administration comes in and awards amnesty to millions of illegal aliens. This is about future political power. They don't care about national security. They don't care about public safety. All they care about is future political power. They sold this country out for future political power, and she's part of it.
Right. And you mentioned those Delaney protests, the riots. They seem very coordinated, sir, at Delaney Hall. Now, reports are surfacing that roughly 100 activist groups like the ACLU, the Democratic Socialists of America, are behind these riots. Some of the gas masks that these rioters are wearing are hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Many of these organizations, sir, are tax-exempt organizations. So, Tom Homan, how is the Trump administration going to go after the root cause of these violent protests? And many of these agitators are from outside of New Jersey.
Well, look, the people that have coordinated these things and financing these things, they think they're smarter than Homeland Security investigations.
I gotta say, bribery works, okay? Because I'm going to interrupt our great birders, Tom Homan, for what we affectionately call a safety meeting. Yeah, I'm gonna. Bribery works.
They think they're smarter than the FBI. They think they're smarter than DOJ. I can't share a lot with you, but I can tell you this. They think they got away with it. Justice is coming. We know who you are, and we're deeply in investigations. So just hold tight and see what happens down the road.
Ooh, that's some breaking news right there.
It's amazing how coordinated it is when you take a look at all the masks that they have with the signs. They aren't homemade. They are mass produced. And the governor of New Jersey actually went and toured the detention facility. She's still not happy. She said that what I received was a closely controlled, limited tour of the facility. That's unacceptable. What about you? I believe you were over there too.
I toured every square foot of that facility.
Is it as bad as they say?
I went to.
And how was the food?
It's absolutely is not. It's well run. I actually sat down. I went there Saturday unannounced. I sat down in the cafeteria with detainees and ate the same food they had. And look, was it a 5-star cuisine? Of course it's not. But it was spaghetti and meat sauce and salad and charro beans and green beans and rolls and butter and fruit drink. So, and I'm a pretty big guy, and I didn't even finish the whole meal. I couldn't finish the whole meal. So as far as it's all lies. This isn't about the food and the medical care. This is about shutting down ICE detention. This is about stopping ICE. This is about abolishing ICE. So they're making up all these lies, and it disgusts me that a member of Congress or a governor would lie about conditions of detainment only to get to their political end, which is end ICE detention and ICE operations, and it's simply not going to happen. They're not going to win this war because the truth will eventually come out.
Divide and conquer. Now, the Trump administration is seeking to revoke the citizenship of 17 U.S. citizens accused of immigration fraud. An article reporting that some of the 17 citizens targeted in the latest denaturalization campaign were convicted of serious crimes, sex offenses, even including children immigration fraud. Tom Homan, can you talk to us more about the administration's effort to get people who are so-called legally here, but they came from another country, but they want to violate our laws?
Look, denaturalization cases have been around as long as I've been alive. I started back in 1984. Denats cases happen under every administration. When you lie on your application, when you do something that we find out that you're a sympathizer for terrorist organizations, you have no right to be a United States citizen. So a lot of times,
back this up a second. Did I hear that correctly? Did he say denazification?
So a lot of times we denast people because of criminal activity, terrorism-related activity, and that's going to continue. If you want to be a part of the greatest nation on earth, then you need to in your application when you do something that we find out that you're a sympathizer for terrorist organizations, you have no right to be a United States citizen. So a lot of times we denast people because of criminal activity, terrorism-related activity, and that's going to continue. If you want to be a part of the greatest nation on earth, then you need to play by the rules. You need to adhere to our laws and the values of what this nation stands for. So those things will continue. They'll continue on for years. It's been happening. I've been involved. I started in 1984. We denounced a lot of people, and we're going to keep on doing it. It's the right thing to do, and we're going to keep doing it.
What do you think about the Hamawi guy that just won the Democratic nomination in New Jersey? He has direct links to that blind sheikh, the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, convicted. This isn't like allegations, convicted. Direct ties to a terrorist. He could be a member of Congress. Your thoughts, sir?
It's disgusting. Where the Democratic Party has gone to again, 4 years of open border, millions of illegal aliens released into this country illegally, many criminals, many gang members, 2.1 million gotaways, 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl, sex trafficking women and children sky high. The number of terrorists released in this, over 400 people on terrorist watch list resting on the southern border compared to 1,400 President Trump. They were silent. But now we're trying to enforce law. We're trying to do the right thing. Now they're fighting us. As far as some of these Democratic nominees for certain positions, I can't believe this is the America I grew up in. I don't think this is the America that most people in this country support either. They've just gone off the deep end. And I think it's, Trump derangement syndrome. It's all about the Republican Party and Trump. They don't want this administration to win. But guess what? We're winning every day on the issues, and we're going to keep on winning.
All right. Tom Homan, thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we had a whole 8 minutes of that. Yeah, that was enough to take 2.5 hits. Yeah, it was long enough. Thank you, Sparky, for that inspiration. Yeah. So, Dapper Detective put this one out yesterday. All right, breaking Democrat Governor Wes Moore signs executive order creating an immigrant rights protection task force as children in Maryland are being kidnapped and raped by illegal aliens. Wes Moore has also ended all ICE cooperation. What?
Governor Wes Moore's latest executive order creates a year-long task force on immigrant rights protection. The governor says immigrants make up 17% of Maryland's population and nearly 22% of the state's labor force. But he says there's a growing trend in scams targeting the immigrant community as bad actors try to take advantage of immigrants' fear of immigration enforcement. Well, Governor Moore says in a statement, we are demonstrating the unity and strength of our state when we join together against injustice. Governor Wes Moore's latest executive.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot more to that. Let's see, William Pulte, who is working closely with Tulsi Gabbard, will be taking over as acting director of national intelligence on Friday, June 19th. So let's see, it is now the 10th. So Tulsi's got like 9 days to do what she's going to do if she's going to do anything. He will remain as director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency and chairman of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Yeah. So the Sudanese man.
I'm so sick of this equivocating from the left, this both sidesing this. Let's hold two ideas in our heads at the same time. Let's talk about the far right at the same time as we watch a man being decapitated in the streets. This isn't a day to talk about, well, the influence of the far right, and then we can talk about the guy being decapitated after that.
Why not?
There is a direct...
Because if we don't talk about it,
no, I'm not. I'm going to finish. I'm not finished. I'm not finished. I was just letting that sit in the air for the audience to make their own judgment. There is a direct line between the people who say we need to focus on language and the violence that you are watching on the streets right now. Nana, you made the right point. People are not listening. Our people are not being listened to. And when you have the feeling you're not being listened to, you feel like you have no other recourse apart from violence. To your point, that's not right, but that is human nature. And unfortunately, the politicians have been able to suppress these narratives with the rape gangs and with illegal migrants for so long, but suddenly with Henry Novak and with the actions we saw this morning, there is footage. And you can't unsee what you've seen with your own eyes. And now they can't just say these are isolated incidents because clips are building and building and it becomes a trend, which breaks their whole, we just need to live in multicultural harmony together and everything is hunky-dory. They have to feel anger with us. They have to empathise with us, or else you are going to see more violence.
It's pretty simple. It is. They're going to take their country back, you know. So House just advanced $70 billion to fund ICE and Border Patrol through the end of Donald Trump's term. 213 to 211. Send it to Trump. Let him sign it. Get these guys paid. And it is that simple. Let's see, what was the other one? And then Russian nationalist academics, 1721, paying their respects to Henry Novak and sending a message of united patriotism. So the Russian youth are standing with the British youth right now in that, you know. So and then let's see. Okay, all right. Here, Patriot Dad EV 2.0.
So yesterday, Thomas Massie did the one thing that he's actually pretty good at. I mean, we know that he kind of sucks at legislating and representing his constituents, as evidenced by the fact that he just got his ass kicked by 10 points in the Republican primary. But there is something that he's good at. He's really good at finding issues that he couldn't have cared less about prior to, and then becoming a champion of.
Mr. Speaker, it's my great honor, maybe one of the biggest honors of my lifetime, to stand here on the floor and do something that's 59 years overdue, to recognize the survivors and those who gave their lives on the USS Liberty 59 years ago today, when they were viciously attacked by IDF jets.
Holy crap, in honor of his lifetime? My gosh, this has to have been something that he's been focusing on and hoping and praying for a long time, right? Right? Yeah, you would think that if this was in honor of someone's lifetime, then the issue that he thought critically important to take to the floor of the House of Representatives to demand further investigations into and demand transparency to would be something that he's talked about, you know, before last week. Because there was a whole lot of conversation on social media yesterday about how important this issue is to Thomas Massie. So I decided to go ask Grok, hey, Grok, when was the first time Thomas Massie spoke to or posted publicly about the USS Liberty, which, remember, according to him, is an honor of his lifetime? And would you be surprised to know that the very first time Thomas Massie ever even mentioned this was on June 4th, last Thursday, when he made the announcement that he was going to be memorializing people as the honor of his lifetime? And as somebody who studies behavior and patterns in people, I couldn't help but notice that this seems to look an awful lot like the way Thomas Massie tends to act. You know, demanding transparency in something that has already been investigated ad nauseum, kind of like he did with the Epstein Transparency Act, where the Trump administration was in the process of reviewing, redacting, and getting ready to release the documents, and then suddenly it becomes an issue that he cares about and he becomes a champion for. But strangely enough, the only things that he seems to really care about becoming a champion of are the issues that our foreign adversaries care about. Like, it's weird because you know who else was talking about the Epstein files at the same time that Thomas Massie started talking about it? Iran. And do you know who else would love for the United States relationship with Israel to be fractured? Iran. Man, if only we could get Thomas Massie to care as much about the more than 1,000 Americans that have died at the hands of the Iranians.
Yeah, well, they've died from both sides. They've died from both sides. You know, just saying. Tim Burchett.
All right, good afternoon. To defend our nation, our military needs state-of-the-art weaponry. That means planes, ships, missiles, drones, and other hardware and software that our warfighters can deploy in pursuit of mission objectives. Our track record at buying weapons, in my opinion, is frankly lousy. The military hardly ever acquires major weapon systems on time or within budget. It's not from lack of funding. Americans have long paid through the nose to ensure our military is well armed. For the current fiscal year alone, Congress provided the Department of War roughly $1 trillion. The agency will spend about half the sum on contracts of some sort, and including $170 billion or more on weapons systems. And that's just 1 year's spending. Our guests today from the Government Accountability Office estimate that the entire portfolio of military weapons systems now under construction will ultimately cost more than $2.4 trillion to develop and acquire. That cost estimate keeps going up, in part because the time to complete these projects keeps getting extended. GAO projects, the development of each of these weapon systems to take an average of 12 years. That's twice as long as it took to fight the Second World War. It means by the time these weapons are in the hands of our warfighters, many will be at least partially obsolete. Most will cost much more than planned and deliver less warfighting capabilities than anticipated. We have got to do better, folks. This administration is at least embracing the challenge. First, it's simplifying the more than 2,000-page regulation that governs federal contracting rules and procedures and doing away with unnecessary red tape. Second, it's calling out major defense acquisition programs that are either 15% behind schedule or 15% above cost. The White House budget will consider such programs for potential termination. Third, it's taking on the big defense contractors who underpin the entire system. The president issued an executive order in January entitled Prioritizing the Warfighter and Defense Contracting. It states in part, after years of misplaced priorities, traditional defense contractors have been incentivized to prioritize investor returns over the nation's warfighters. Many large contractors, while underperforming on existing contracts, pursue newer, more lucrative contracts, stock buybacks, and excessive dividends to shareholders at the cost of production capacity, innovation, and online delivery. Effective immediately, they are not permitted in any way, shape, form, or fashion to pay dividends or buy back stock until such time as they are able to produce superior product on time and on budget. In other words, no more business as usual, no more gravy train, but Congress must also do its part. For too long, we have allowed the status quo to go on. That is why after this roundtable, I will be introducing legislation to give the Secretary of War the ability to limit stock buyback executive compensation for publicly traded companies contracting with the Pentagon. Additionally, last December, I tweeted about a ridiculous provision recently enacted as part of the National Defense Authorization Act, or commonly called the NDAA, that authorizes the Secretary of War to pay the interest on defense contractors' loans. If Congress is going to be part of the solution here, the least we can do is not make taxpayers foot the bill for debt payments that underperforming contractors owe to big banks. Hope we can all agree on that.
Makes sense, doesn't it? Yep. All right. I need enough time for a bathroom run here, so I'm going to give you a song while I run off to the toilet, and I'll be back with you in just a minute.
used to sit beneath neon skies, build kingdoms in my mind at night. Talked real big to an empty room, like somehow dreams alone break through. I wanted gold without the grind, wanted peace without the time, wanted harvest from barren ground, but never stayed when the sun went down. And life whispered soft one day, boy, there's a price for every way. 'Cause the wanting dreams are smoke in the wind. They burn bright, but they never begin. Like castles made from restless air, gone the second reality's there. But real manifestation grows slow like seeds, buried deep where nobody sees. Through the rain, through the pain, through unseen needs. One's just fantasy, and one becomes destiny. Smoke or seed. I've seen men chase a hollow crown, lose their soul just to feel profound. Talk about changing all mankind while their own home falls behind. And I've seen old hands split rough pine, quiet strength in their weathered eyes. No applause and no grand parade, just faithful work every single day. And somewhere between faith and scars is where we truly become who we are. 'Cause the wanting dreams are smoke in the wind. They burn bright, but they never begin. Like shadows dancing on bedroom walls, beautiful, but they never stand tall. But real manifestation grows slow like seeds, roots digging deep through adversity, through the dark, through the way, through uncertainty. One fades helplessly, and one becomes reality. Smoke or seed. So if I dream, let it move my feet. Let conviction rise inside of me. Not escape, not vanity, but truth becoming what I choose to be. And if heaven's listening tonight, don't give me comfort without the fight. Give me courage to endure the climb, wisdom enough to recognize that a wanting dreams are smoke in the wind, a temporary place to pretend. But real manifestation lives in scars, in calloused hands and faithful hearts. It's waking up when hope feels weak, still planting fields you may never see. Believing light can still break free. That's the difference between fantasy and living what you're meant to be. Smoke or seed. Yeah, the smoke drifts away in time. No time for rest, but the sea become forest.
All right. And the dogs are itching. Yeah, and the dogs are itching for a run. They're starting to get a little rambunctious. That's why I had to mute for a minute there, because they started barking and everything else. They're getting to that point. So I'm going to go ahead and call it for today. You got 2 hours and 45 minutes of me, and there they go again. Yep. But we got our 420 safety meeting gone, and I will see you guys again tomorrow. I'm going to take you out with my latest song titled Bread and Circuses. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Where am I? There I am. All right. Yeah, I'm going to take you out with Bread and Circuses, because just pay attention to what the song is saying, and you'll catch a good glimpse of it. But I'll be back with you tomorrow. Probably I should be closer to 11 tomorrow, than more so than 11:30, 11:45, something like that. But I should be closer to 11 o'clock tomorrow. I'm trying to get back on a schedule. I just got to get the pup to the point where I don't have to have so much observation on him, and then we'll go from there. So remember, God loves you, Jesus loves you, and I love you. I'll see you again tomorrow. They're taking you out with Bread and Circuses.
Down in old Rome, they learned a trick. Keep the people busy, keep the people thick. Hand them some bread, give them a show, and they'll stop asking where the tax money goes. Gladiators fighting while the empire burned. Lessons from history we still ain't learned. The crowd kept cheering, the leader smiled, while freedom slipped away mile by mile. Bread and circuses, bright lights and noise, keep the people distracted with their favorite toys, while the powerful gamble with the future we share. Most folks never notice, 'cause they're looking elsewhere. Circuses, same old game, different century, different face, different name. And the question remains when the curtain falls, who's watching the empire at all? Screens in our pockets, headlines that scream. Everybody selling the next big dream. Outraged today and forgotten tomorrow. Trading real answers for borrowed sorrow. Politicians talking, the cameras roll. Everybody playing a carefully crafted role. The crowd picks sides and the ratings climb, while the clock keeps ticking on borrowed time. Bread and circuses, bright lights and noise, keep the people distracted with their favorite toys, while the powerful gamble with the future we share. Most folks never notice, 'cause they're looking elsewhere. Bread and circuses, same old game, different century, different face, different name. And the question remains when the curtain falls, who's watching the empire at all? A free man thinks, a free man reads, a free man plants his own damn seeds. He don't need a ringmaster tell him what to believe, and he don't sell his future for temporary relief. Bread and circuses, the crowd still cheers. The same old tricks have lasted 2,000 years, but every generation gets one chance to decide, will we stand for the truth or enjoy the ride? Bread and circuses, that's a test. Comfort and spectacle demand what's best. And when history writes what became of us all, will it say we were away, or just watching the show? The bread gets eaten, the circus leaves town. But freedom, that's the thing you can't buy back once it's gone.